Welcome everybody. In these mini-series we'll take a look at Redis, AspNetCore, and distributed caching in the cloud. So we're going to start with Redis. We're going to take a look at what it is, how to interact with it. We'll take a look at the libraries available, how to integrate that into an AspNetCore application, and then finally how to get it all in the cloud and what is distributed caching and potentially some of the use cases that you can use for it, right? So let's go ahead and start with having Redis. You're gonna need a Windows subversion for Linux too, because in the cloud you use Linux, and on our local computer we're gonna use Linux too. Right, so all the links are gonna be in the description, the source code and everything, right? Redis.io.download, don't go to redis.com, that is more of an enterprisey solution. You have Redis, we wanna download it. At the bottom here, you will find your Ubuntu download. So go ahead, copy these commands into your WSL2 and you'll just have it set up. If you don't have it set up, Microsoft Store, I'm gonna get Ubuntu 18, kind of like 18.1 is the one that I scrap and open up all the time. I'm just gonna launch it. A fresh instance comes up, and I do this just so you know I'm starting fresh. And I know that I'm not missing any steps out. So as per usual, I'll just put in some mock information here. Seller, clear. Anyway, I don't need to clear. I'll just close this, and I'm going to use a Windows terminal for this. We're going to go to the Ubuntu 18 version that I've just downloaded, right? So as I said, you pretty much just want to copy the commands. Press enter here. Next one, we'll run update. And next one, we will install Redis. Press yes. That's it, right? Redis is installed. How do we use it? How do we interact with it? So you will get a couple of commands here, but essentially what you get is you get two commands, or you get two things. You get a Redis server and Redis CLI. If you've ever used Docker, hoping you did, you have your Redis daemon, the thing that runs Docker, which is also an API, and then you have your Docker CLI, which interacts with that API. You have the same setup here. You have the Redis server, which is the cache, and then you can connect to it through the CLI. You don't usually do that because it's more of a testing thing. You do it through programming, right? And programming languages will have libraries to interact with Redis, and we're going to take a look at how they work underneath the hood and why you don't want to go out and build your own library, right? But anyway, let's go ahead, and first what you want to do is you want to say sudo service status-all. You will see this Redis server here. Go ahead, highlight it, copy it, but essentially the minus means it's not started. So what we want to do is we just want to start it, right? That's going to start it. I'm going to status-all, and Redis server is started. Then go ahead and just say Redis CLI, and we're connected. How does Redis work? Redis is maybe a little bit like SQL or Git, where you just have commands. With Git, you would do git status and git commit -m, right? It's a sort of it's a command line tool, right? But you have applications that, you know, they could visualize things, and you can press a button and it does it for you. Essentially, they execute those commands, right? With Redis, you also have commands. So we're going to, this is basically, again, this is the same site. It's all the commands that you can use. We're not going to take a look at all of them. We're going to take a look at a specific few, right? Let's go ahead, type in set. And here we're just going to find the set command. The set command looks something like this. Set key value, and then you have a bunch of like expiry, you have time to live, all of that stuff that we're just going to park for now and learn about later, okay? The important bit here is, well, and the simplest bit, right? The required things is set key value, right? If you're familiar with keys and values, this should be pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully there's a bunch of videos out there as well that already explain these things, right? So a dog, and I don't know, let's say something like Rex. What's the stupidest dog name we can get? I'm sorry if your dog name is called Rex, right? And then we get the key, and we have Rex, right? So set dog Rex, get dog. There we go. So we can also, I don't know, set a cat Billy and get cat, right? So we have a dog and we have a Billy in our cache. Let's go ahead, Control C to exit this. Let's go ahead and stop the Redis server, and we're gonna try to connect it. You will see that we're not connected to anything. The CLI is started though, but nothing is happening. So this is why it's important to actually have your thing started, right? So let's go ahead and start it. Let's connect to it, and let's go ahead and execute this command again. What did we notice here? We stopped and started the service. The cache is still there, so the cache is being persisted to disk. It's not just an in-memory cache, it is also sort of a database. You can use Redis as a database, although I would count it as a more of a temporal database or ephemeral one. And all I mean by temporal and ephemeral one, it's a database that you can just discard because you can always refill it later. Now we know how to set it up locally. We know how to interact with it in a kind of a useless way. I mean, it's okay to get started, but nobody's gonna try to do this on a production server, right? You want to call it from your Python, C#, JavaScript, or whatever programming language code. And this is not really how it happens, right? So how does actual communication happen? Is there a REST API we can call? Is it an RPC endpoint? Whatever, right? What do we do, right? We don't get a REST endpoint. What we do have is we have streams. You have to connect to the socket of the Redis server, and you have to essentially interact it in a very low-level way. I guess that's what makes it fast. Now, I'm not an expert on this. I usually don't write this sort of code. This is just to sort of show you what happens underneath client libraries, as we're going to take a look at them and we're going to see how to use them, just to maybe sort of alleviate some confusion. I was like, oh, I want to build a client library. How does it actually work, right? So the following code I've just lifted from one of the client libraries, and it's a way to interact with Redis. So first thing that we're going to need is a TCP socket. So let's go ahead and create a socket. Address family enter network. Socket type stream. Protocol type TCP. Okay, so we're creating a TCP socket. It's I don't know how many levels below HTTP is, but it's HTTP is built on top of it, and it's basically just sending text in correct sequence, and then the server being able to interpret that text in that same correct sequence. Okay, so we have a socket. I don't want to save this file. We want to connect. Right, so we're not gonna do asynchronous because I mean there's no reason to. Where is it? So yeah, we have our Redis server running on this address, right? So let's just pop it here, and there we go. Right, our socket's connected. Now that we are connected to the Redis server, we need to send some data to it. Let's go ahead, grab our socket, and let's just send. Now, the send method accepts essentially a byte array, so that's what we will need. We will need a byte array that is essentially the message or the request, and what you actually do is, you send a request string. So we need something like this, and encoding UTF-8 to byte array. Nope, it will be get bytes, a request string. And then we send the request. Okay, so what do we send? Again, if you don't know how HTTP works and TCP, again, as I said previously, it's a sequence of messages, and then the server knows how to interpret that sequence. And because HTTP is a protocol, everybody speaks in the same protocol. That's why servers can communicate, right? It's kind of like auth. It's a specification everybody follows. Redis is on a level below HTTP, it's on TCP, so it can actually go up and specify its own protocol for communication. So how does this protocol work? You have the number of commands that you're about to execute, and then you have to put a new line. And then you have to specify the length of your first parameter, right? Because we say we're supplying two keys to you. The first information we give about the key is the length of it, and then the second piece is the actual key name, right? So dog, we want to get dog, and actually then it's going to be get. Okay, and then same thing here again, length of 3. So this is our second parameter, and this is, yeah, so this time we're getting dog. So again, just to kind of recap, we want to supply 2 keys. First key is about yay much, length of 3, and it's called get. Second key is again length of 3, and it's dog. And let's not forget this, otherwise everything will explode. With this, we are sending stuff into Redis. Now we want to be able to receive stuff from Redis as well. So, yeah, let's create a, we're gonna response data, okay, or let's say response stream. We need to, we essentially need to capture data, and basically this is how you do it, right? Network stream. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because you don't really need to know this. You're just gonna use a client library. This is just an example of what you can do, right? And how these client libraries are built. So we have a buffered stream. Basically, as soon as we send data to to Redis, it's gonna send the data back. So we want to be able to read stuff from it. So we kind of register a place that we can read things from, and yeah, so this will be the response stream. So moving on, we want to aggregate the result. If you've ever worked with streams, this is kind of like the code that you have to write. Feel free to pause and kind of contemplate what the code does. It does make sense in the end, right? So I'm gonna say I need to aggregate the result in a string builder, right? So I'm just gonna accumulate strings because again, I'm gonna receive a message in the more or less the same format. I'm gonna get back a string and I want to accumulate it, but the problem is I'm gonna get it in little bits. So I'll just define this bit here, and I'll just do something like this. Pretty standard code. So we're gonna read a byte. We're gonna read a single byte from the stream, and we're gonna hope this byte is not more, but like not equals than -1, right? So as long as it's 0 or more, we are getting good data. And essentially each of these bytes is gonna equal to a character. So what we want to do is we want to say result append, and we will just convert this byte to a character. And we're gonna slowly aggregate this result, and I mean, we can see what this looks like. We're gonna get stuck in an infinite loop for a second, but let's see what happens. And let's dump this. And here we go. So we accumulated an error, and yeah, I'm not sure. Protocol error in I don't know, multi-bulk length. Anyway, the thing that I'm doing wrong is \n \r needs to be replaced with \r\n. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so that's that. This is the result. So you can see here we're slowly accumulating $3 and rex. So it looks weird, but this is basically what's happening. You have $3, $3, and then $3 new line. So there's the \r here, and then \r\n with the new line. Okay, and then we get the r, we get the e, we get the x. So this is all one string here. And then again, the 2 more results is for getting this ending new line. Okay, so this is why it looks a little bit weird, but this gives us something to work with. So first we're gonna get what's it called, the $3, and on the end we're gonna have \r\n. Let's go ahead and do something like this. I'm gonna remove this dump because we kind of have the data that we want to work with. If the b that we're gonna have here is gonna be equal to what's called \r, that means we are approaching the end of the verb. Okay, and well, that just means we can do something along the following lines. We can just eat the next character and break the loop. Okay, so we're just gonna get $3 here, and this is gonna basically mean that what we have in this result builder is the length of the result that we want to read from the response stream. Okay, so let's just get response length. yeah, I mean, read it as one word. So SB, not SB, sorry, result. I was like SB string builder. But anyway, a toString substring. And there we go. Let me slide this over a little bit. And we will just want to int parse. Because we start, let me make this bigger, because we start on the first character, not the 0 character, we just grab that first character. We never store the \r or \n, so we're not going to have those characters there. This is why we can just int parse3, and that's the length that we want to keep reading. Okay, so we have the response length. Let's say response value is a new by array. So response length, that is how much we want to read. And then from the response stream, we will go ahead and read a response value. So this is what we read into. And then again, we just, that is how much we want to read. And then we discard the rest of the values in there. Response value, yeah, let's just, I mean, encoding. There is encoder and encoding, and I always mix them up, but there we go. UTF-8, let's see, toString, I can't remember, get string, yeah, get string. And we want to put response value in here. Now let's just dump this in the end. We'll say result. So the result is Rex. This is if we get dog. If I want to get the cat, I get Billy. Underneath the hood, this is what client libraries are going to do. It's essentially not a RESTful API because REST APIs use HTTP. This is Redis Protocol, okay? That's built on top of the TCP network layer. So you can see that there's quite a little bit of work that goes into building this and making sure it works, handling different edge cases, etc. You don't want to build one of these. You're going to use a client library. There is a lot out there, and we're going to use one that's Stack Exchange, right? So Stack Overflow, they use ASP.NET for their website, and they've built their own Redis library. We're going to be learning how to use that. I think it's one of the more widespread ones, but anyway, that's a topic for another video. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.